Hi guys, welcome to another session of Beat Banter. I am Ashwin Babu Rao here at Beatworks Studio in Bangalore, and today I am joined by two amazing legends. That is D-Nox and Beckers. I'm sure you've heard all of them in the past 20 years or so that they've been making music, and they've been around the scene for a very long time. And today we're in three different time zones. I'm here from Bangalore. Chris is all the way in Brazil. It's a good morning. And Frankie is all the way in Berlin. So welcome, guys. Welcome to the show. Thanks for taking the time to do this with us. So let's start off with Chris and maybe talk a little bit about, how he started individually as D-Nox, and then we'll come to Frankie and, move on. So tell us, Chris, how did your entire journey with music begin? Enlighten us.
Yes, I was born in a family of musicians. My father used to have a band, and well, automatically I heritaged his gear, which put me very early already in front of the tape machine recording music from the radio. In the country I was born, we had nowhere to buy records, CDs or vinyls, because that was a communist regime, so things were a little bit limited. But I spent most of my time recording music on cassette tapes, which then made me have a bigger collection. And then later people called me to play in school discos in the age of 13, around very early. Later we changed our country. We moved to the capitalism side, and the opportunities were bigger, and I wanted to continue my passion for music. And things were easier, and well, you turn 14, 15, you start to go out, you meet different kinds of friends, and music was always there. And then in the early 90s, techno started, and this is when I got hooked on, pretty early, around 92. And since then, I'm into music and into DJing. I'm not a musician, I'm a DJ.
Wonderful. So let's go to you, Frankie. So tell us a little bit about your beginnings.
Yeah, so I started more like a classical trained musician, actually. So I started in the age of 6 or 7 already playing piano, pretty serious, also like practicing every days. And then when I was turning 12 or 13, was some of my mates from my class was thinking about maybe starting a band, and then I started playing also the bass guitar. And then it developed over the next few years that, like, in my age from 14 till maybe 19, 20, I played in countless bands, actually, from all directions. It was really from heavy metal to a funk band to a symphony orchestra to a jazz big band. I played bar piano, a top 40 band. It was really everything. And I thought, actually, for a while, this is going to be my life, more that instrumental music. But then, I started making music on a computer, and actually even before getting into techno or electronic music. And it was just like a relief that, because when you're playing for many years in big bands with many members, it's always discussions. It's always usually people don't want the same thing. And then in the computer, everybody was doing what I want, the instrument. And that's what I liked. And then I started going to the first techno parties, and I actually enjoyed more the vibe there before really understanding the music, because it was really different to what I've done before. All the monotone, really reduced, stripped down rhythmical aspect was really new, but also like fascinating. And then I got into deeper and deeper, and I'm still there till today, because in the end I found this is maybe the most interesting music direction, which keeps developing till today. That's maybe what I like the most about it.
So tell us a little bit about how you guys met, because I assume you are from Germany.
Mm-hmm. Right,
Yes,
right,
and
right.
Chris is South American, right? Is that right?
No.
No?
No, we are both Germans,
Okay.
and I used to live in a city called Düsseldorf, which is about 50 kilometers far from the city of where Beckers still lives, city called Essen. This is all around the city of Cologne, for you to have an idea, not far from the Dutch border. And we used to have friends in common. I met Frankie only in the year 2000 around in some German psytrance festival, hanging out in the car park and doing some funky festival things.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I got told by my friends that we had in common that this is a music producer, that he had already released an album or two on a label called Freeform as under the moniker Space Safari. And then it took a bit of a time. We got to know each other. We start to hang out, but there was nothing concrete. And later we had some other kind of project. I don't know if Frankie remembers, Proved.
Ah, yeah.
That was a DJ project between how many we were? 8 maybe? DJs from around Cologne, Düsseldorf, and your city.
Yeah, it was like a local
and we made
collective kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, we even recorded a compilation called Proved that was released on Plastic Park or something like this. Anyway, and in the year 2004, while most of our friend DJs, our people around kind of lost their way in what we were doing, we decided to start making music together. I asked him and he invited me to come to his studio. And that was that thing. We said, let's give it a try. And from that moment on, we got until today. Yeah, that was very simple, but
wonderful. It was also, like Chris said, it was actually like a huge collective of people, many DJs, promoters, and decoration artists that knew each other. And then, we had this collective. But in the end, I think after the years, we realized, and that's what I realized, that Chris D-Nox is maybe the only one of this huge group who takes the whole music, DJing, producing thing like more serious, more professional, like I had it also in my head. And so that was actually the reason why we tried it together. And here we are till today.
So what year was this that you formed Dnox and Beckers?
Oh, you know that.
I know that, yeah. It was 2004.
2004.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
at this point,
Frankie didn't even know which name to use, and he was a bit undecided because his third album, which was already finished, produced, never got released as Space Safari. The label went bankrupt. It was a time that a big change was happening. You know, the vinyl thing kind of came to an end. Sales dropped. Many distributors closed down, and there was a gap. For many, they didn't know how to continue, what to do. And also for us in Germany, we never really had this thing like progressive house or the music from England that never came to us. There was house, techno, and pretty much this, and a bit of psytrance. And yeah, we had all these influences. I was already a DJ from many years before, but playing in clubs since 95, 94, 95, every weekend. Frankie as a musician. And then, you know, we kind of filled up this gap, which was created around that time.
Yep.
Wonderful. So let's talk a little bit about your sound. You know, when you guys started, you know, what were your primary influences in terms of your music? What was your sound like at that point of time? Obviously, your sound has refined over the years. It has evolved over the years, just like, you know, many artists do. So walk us through that journey, some of the labels that you earlier released on, and how you are today, and, you know, what led you to come to that place. So let's start maybe with Frankie and come back to you.
Yeah, I mean, actually, it was never from the beginning on, and still we almost keep it like that till today, that there was like a plan going into the studio, like, okay, let's make this kind of sound. It has to be similar to this or that or something. That actually never happened. And that's actually, I think, also a good thing to keep your head free from this kind of things. But what I remember, like the main influence in that time when my first Space Safari project ended, and there was a little, like Chris had this gap also where I was a little bit lost at what kind of direction to go. I remember that a huge influence of me, and I think also of Chris, was Infusion at that time, the big Australian project from Jamie Stevens. They came up with a sound that was kind of unheard for that moment, and that influenced me and gave me like a lot of inspiration for my future at that time, I think. And we just took it from there. I think that was like an initial really influence at the beginning. Later than that, I don't know. Chris knows better with these kind of things, maybe remembers.
No, it was definitely an Infusion we liked, we still do. But there was also that sound from those German guys like Oliver Klein, Marco Tool. They had these big, bassy club sounds quite dry, minimalistic, which also was, wow, for us was like, wow, this is kicking, this is amazing. But we were missing some musical elements. And then, as Frankie said, the influence from bands like Infusion or Junkie XL, maybe Sasha, Dequit, a bit of this, made in a more German way, with the funkiness of Frankie's knowledge of playing the drums, the rhythmic, the shuffle he used in his programming of the hi-hats and all this. I think this is what brought us to what it is today. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think another big thing was also that we, from the beginning, we always liked what we called the disco bass lines. When it's like 16 notes, like a digga 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 digga, like Donna Summer bass lines. We always had this a little bit in our music, and I think that was kind of a coincidence, also not planned, that it suddenly really fitted as a kind of a new sound on the maybe second floor on psytrance parties, because this kind of bass lines was also, it's in psytrance just much faster and sometimes not that complex, it's just one note or something, but that made it somehow easier for these people also to understand it. For them it was something new also at that time, I think, on these kind of parties. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your studio practices, your working ethics as artists, all of that. So let's first start with, maybe some of the things that you guys do that you think is unique to your process in terms of sound.
I can say that since we always have lived a bit distance in different cities, even when I was still living in Germany. And we used to meet maybe once a week, twice, if it was a lot. And it was always good because I'm a DJ. I got all this musical influence during the weekends, playing in clubs, Frankie too, but then also driving to the studio, have like an hour to reset your mind, walk through, sit together. We didn't turn on the computer right away. You sit, you talk, you let things review. Yes. I don't know, sorry to say, and speak about what happened during the weekend, what influences you maybe got there, what impressions you took home, listening even to new latest releases of others. And I think it's a very natural process for most of us. And then we started, as Frankie said, since we never had a master plan, we started we just went with the flow. We saw what came out of our box, of latest presets, newest plugins, newest synthesizer toy. You took a bit from everywhere, from the club experience, from new music, from what was new in the studio, and of course all the knowledge that was already in Frankie's head and less in mine, because as I said, I was the DJ and he's more the musician.
Right. So it was more like a sort of a warm-up for you guys, to sort of be on the same page before you start working, before you make your music, because as a duo, it's super important for both of you guys to sort of be on the same page. So that's a great process. So let's talk a little bit about your individual studio setups as well, what DAW you use, a few plugins that you use and stuff like that. So Frankie, tell us a little bit about that. What is your setup like back there where you are?
So yeah, I actually have two setups. I have like an outhouse studio, which it's basically a quite good sounding room that I already became. When I overtook it, it was already good sounding. It was actually used for synchronizing porn movies before the studio. And it's actually a pretty basic setup. We're working mainly inside the computer, I would say. Maybe sometimes a bass or something from a Moog, but not much actually. And yes, we're working now, I don't know, since quite some years already with Ableton Live. I started actually working with a Cubase, but then after changing, I actually never looked back, and still very happy with it. And and then I have a setup at home just with the same speakers, and I always work like right into the Dropbox, that on my laptop or studio I can open the project and everything works right away. That's quite important because sometimes just a different setting, like sitting in your underwear at home to do something can also be nice. But of course, for really a proper mixing session where you go deep, or mastering. Of course, I need the real studio where the sound is much better actually. Yeah, that's basically it.
And what about you, Chris? What is your setup like?
Yeah, well, I used to have a very basic setup in the late 90s. No, well, yeah, I had a mixing console, I had a sampler, a drum machine, a synthesizer, and an effect,
Box pedal.
yeah, 19
Yeah.
rec, whatever, yeah. And I started to learn on the old MIDI Atari
Sequencers. Yeah.
sequence thing, and but I never really got too deep into it. I never understood the thing of making one sound sounding good enough, mixing all this frequency thing on the mixer. You know, I had it, but I never really got too deep into it. Until then, things moved into PC. I started to work with Frankie, but still, even then, it took me until today. I have to say that maybe now, since I live in Brazil and I have to work much more on my own,
Mm-hmm.
I got forward to where I could have been already before. My setup is only a computer. I have a mini Mac here, a monitor, two Yamaha speakers, a MIDI controller, and that's it. I don't have any external gear here at all.
Fantastic. Everything is inside the box. I mean,
Yeah.
coming to today's time when it was so difficult in the 90s that you had to set up a studio, you needed a mixer, you needed like sound sources like synthesizers. Now, we have everything which is inside the box and it's so easy to do. You have
Yeah.
tutorials like YouTube, which we never had back in the day. So things are definitely looking great. So on that note, let's talk about this really exciting masterclass that you guys are coming up with. I happened to see a little video where you guys have announced a new masterclass, and I believe you're going to teach people how to do everything the way you guys do it from start to finish. So let's talk a little bit about that. What is this class about? Who can enroll for it? What are they going to learn?
Frankie, you want to go for it?
Yeah, go for it.
No, okay. Well, in COVID times, we thought of giving something else than just music from us to all the people out there. And since 2004, we make music together, but there were years before that we made music already. So there's a lot of experiences to be shared. And we thought that a masterclass showing those people that always had maybe fear to do the last step, they may be bored already at Ableton, or they have a computer at home, but then they are like, looking at things and they don't know how to, like I was actually in the 90s with all my gear. I had it, but then I was always one step away from getting into it. And we wanted to give a master class that takes this kind of things from people away and make a track, as you said, from scratch to the end in the most simple way that we try to explain, without going into scientists, without having been studied years. And we believe that with this masterclass, you might be able to make a track with samples that we give away, with presets also, and then you just go through it. It's like a 6 hours full tutorial from the kick drum through hi-hats, through every element, till mixing, mastering. And Frankie also will show you how the track shall be sounding good enough to be played in clubs whenever they open again. And so, yeah, Frankie can fill up, yeah.
Yeah, on top of this whole focus on production course, it's also, because as Chris said, we have a lot of experience, it's also a lot of thoughts how to get creative and how to analyze music and this kind of things. That's actually also, I think, pretty important. And yeah, we really try to find, in general, the balance that's really for beginner with a really simple setup with a laptop and a headphone. You are actually ready to start, but also there will be some really in-depth tips, and also like advanced, maybe professional people maybe never heard of. So I think we try to find a good balance between both. And we're actually quite happy with the results, that we could finally share all this experience from all the almost last 20 years and put it into one course. And yeah, we're really looking forward.
Yeah, I think the beautiful part is it's two people coming with two diverse backgrounds, one as a musician, one as a DJ. So there's a lot that you guys obviously bring to the table with this program, right? So when is this masterclass happening and where can people find out more about this?
Well, there will be a window of sales from September 14th to 16th. So there will be 3 days where people there, whoever is willing to subscribe, will be able to then also purchase on those dates. We will share more information. If you go to our social medias, you will see already all the links, all the missing informations, and we keep on posting until the day of sale. We will be sharing also maybe another live here and there to explain things even better. But basically, we created our own homepage, our own store. Yeah, and so whoever is interested, and we see already there is some nice interest coming all the way from India. Around 200 people have already subscribed, and well, would be very interesting to share whatever we have to say with all the people, not only in India, but especially also from India, because I remember whenever we went to India to play, we always felt like this hunger of information, like, oh, how can we make, and now finally we can give more than just words, and this is so nice. This is so.
Remember, we did it one time in India, you know, we did
Yeah,
like an
in Delhi,
afternoon talking to some music class there some years ago. Where was it? In Mumbai?
Probably
In
ILM.
Delhi, yeah.
Was it ILM in Delhi?
I don't know the name, but it was with the people from Quilla Records, I think,
Killer
if I'm
Records.
not.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're very good friends of mine, part of the crew with Kora, who's the guy who runs Killer Records. Very good friend of
Yeah.
mine, and we're part of the label together. So wonderful. Yeah, you guys have been coming to India for a while now. I hope, this situation dies down and we can have you guys soon enough for another tour or a few gigs in India. So, before we wrap this session up, let's get a few tips from you guys. Maybe let's have one tip from each of you guys for producers or for DJs. So, I'll ask Chris to give me a tip for DJs and Frankie to give me a tip for producers.
Okay, let me start then. Well, for me, as I said, it's a life mission. I felt like I was born to be in this whole thing, but I have to say it hasn't been a very easy way always. I had to do lots of things to achieve to where I got. I had to work take other kinds of jobs just to pay the vinyls, the records, the music, the equipment. And so I would like to say that whoever would like to go this way, you should go it, but also accept any, what's it called for hinderness in English, Frankie? Obstacles.
Obstacles, yes.
Yeah. So and just believe in it, because it's music, and it's something that it's an emotional thing. It's something that has to come from really from here, from your heart, and it has nothing to do with
Money.
Money at first place. It is a business, of course, but before you get there, I recommend to feel it and to live it and enjoy music also. Yes.
Yes, first it's an art and then it's a business, not the other way
Yes.
around. And yes, over to you, Frankie.
Yeah.
A tip for
So I
producers.
guess, yeah, for me, very important for the studios, and I think Chris and everybody who knows me has actually to suffer from it, is that if you really take your time and say, okay, now I'm going to make music, then make music, make nothing else, because it needs your 100% attention. So that meaning you cannot make music and be on Facebook and answering your phone at the same time. That doesn't work. I mean, it works, but you never get that deep into it, because in that time, just keep it this music bubble you are in. And on the same matter, it's also very important. It's actually a quote from Rick Rubin, to keep any commercial considerations outside of the studio, or all commercial considerations should be done when the work is finished, not before, or let's make a track for this and it's going to work here. No, in that moment, it should be only music and nothing else. And yeah, everything else can be before or after. And I think that's quite important, why I'm still enjoying it a lot after all these years.
Yeah, that's a beautiful tip because, if you often start by thinking about where am I making this music for, what label am I going to release it on, it's definitely going to end in some kind of disaster rather than you doing it first and then seeing where it fits in, right?
Yeah.
So, guys, this was Dnox and Beckers, and I'm Ashwin Babu Rao, all the way from Beatworks. It was wonderful talking to these guys. So, go over to their social media, find out about this masterclass. Oh, also, I think they have an amazing opportunity for you producers. They are going to be releasing some tracks on their label on Sprout Music as a part of this masterclass, which is what I saw, and I sent it to some of my producer friends as well, which is very exciting because it's not often that you get a chance for legends like this to release your music or even get them to hear it. So, on that note, thank you very much for joining us today. I hope all of you guys enjoyed this session. So, drop any questions that you have in the comment section and they'll be happy to answer them. I hope you guys had a wonderful time tuning out from India. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.